The most efficient system in history of growing food and getting it to consumers, modern farming is under attack, blamed for causing climate change. The world has watched as Dutch farmers fight for their economic survival against demands that they shrink their operations to suit the government's climate change agenda. The government has told farmers to cut ammonia emissions by 50%, and those near protected areas must reduce their operations by as much as 95%, or they must sell their land to the government and face a lifetime ban from farming. Farmers responded by spraying government buildings with manure, and police shot at this 16-year-old boy. Jos Ubels, vice president of the Farmers Defense Force in the Netherlands, tells us negotiations are not going anywhere, and a bad situation is continuing to escalate.
We are fighting for our rights to produce and to live as a human being in our country, in a democracy, where we have the right to go on the street to protest against legislations, and we have the right to produce via our permits. If you check our production rates and how we work, we produce very high level, very high scale, good healthy food, traceable, all with a little environmental impact.
Farmers around the world who are also seeing their way of life under attack have demonstrated in solidarity. American farmers who are already subject to a host of regulations could face even more restrictions. But politicians should view what happened in Sri Lanka as a cautionary tale. Sri Lanka's ban of chemical fertilizers in farming caused the struggling nation's agricultural sector and then its economy to collapse. It ended with protesters frolicking in the presidential swimming pool after the nation's leader fled the country. Sri Lanka was supposed to be the poster child of modern organic farming. The World Economic Forum even proudly posted this article about Sri Lanka's future success, written by the Prime Minister whose house was set on fire by protesters. Parts of the world already face famine because of a shortage of chemical fertilizer due to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The same kind of fertilizer environmentalists want to reduce. Washington attorney Gary Bass, who helped start the Environmental Protection Agency in 1970, and now says it should be abolished because it's Orwellian, owns 11 farms in Illinois. He calls what the Dutch government is trying to do to its farming sector madness, and sees signs a similar movement is coming to the U.S.
Agriculture is an easy target, both from the animal standpoint and from guys like me who put a lot of anhydrous ammonia on their corn crop. They're going after methane, which is belched by cows. AOC has it wrong. They do not FART the methane, they belch it.
Bass believes the era of cheap food at the grocery store is over, not just from inflation, but because of growing environmental regulations on farming, and says Sri Lanka should be a warning to leaders who want to experiment with food production.
That's what happens when you don't have food.
Nevertheless, the Biden administration appears to be coming after farmers. Steve Malloy, editor of the website junkscience.com, writes that a new study by the EPA claims that farm dust kills 17,000 Americans per year, the same EPA standards that basically killed the coal industry.
These are people who want to control every aspect of our lives, and that includes energy production and use and food use. They believe food production is a major contributor to global warming. They're not going to give up on agriculture. They don't like agriculture.
Former U.S. Ambassador to the Netherlands, Piet Hoekstra, says if the Dutch government wins this battle against its farmers, who are the second largest exporters of agricultural products in the world behind the United States, it will only make the global food shortage worse.
The Dutch will not experience food shortages, but there may be other parts of the world that will, because this food is going to go away.
Any government willing to risk its food supply in order to fight climate change might want to keep Sri Lanka in mind. Dale Hurd, CBN News.